Good morning, all. Let me unplug this heater right quick. Hope everyone is doing okay. Get started. Some of you may have got a text message this morning. So the non-traditional building methods, some of you guys have not signed on to take over these. If your name is in bold, I've already looked at it and you're good to go. So make sure that this is done before today, before the end of the day today. And because next week, we are not going to have Zoom. I want you to spend time researching this. So you'll have 2 days, and I want you to take advantage of this. So during the class period next week, you're going to research this and you're going to build your PowerPoint presentation. And I need it submitted by Monday and Monday the 8th. Let's see, that's not right. It should be first thing in the morning or right before class. So this needs to be, oh, that's 8, that was 12 a.m. Sorry about that, guys. It is due February 8th at 12 a.m. That is correct. I'm losing it. So make sure that everyone is ready to go on Monday. This next weekend, I will go. What I do is I usually get pull up a random engine off of Google or something, and I put in everybody's name, and then we kind of draw from a hat to see who's going to go first and who's going to go last and so forth like that. So again, be ready to go on Monday. I don't want to hear any excuses. Well, I didn't get it done. You got a week to get it done. So we're not going to have class next week. So you got Monday and Wednesday of next week to get this completed and turned in. Then after the first person goes, you can't go back and change it. Once you've submitted your presentation, it's a done deal. I want you to spend some time on this and double check your sources. You need to, I don't care what format you put your sources into, make sure that your sources are there, and don't just take one source's word on everything, because sometimes I don't want any misinformation put out there. I want you guys to do a bang up job on this. Just think of it as if you're going to get $1 million prize if you win. So you don't want to be giving off any false information, and do a really bang up job. Remember, do not, and let me go back over to this a second. I put this in red, no reading from the slide. All presentations are submitted by 9 a.m., which is wrong. That is 12 a.m. February 8th, for fairness of all students, I randomly pick everybody to go for this. And, do not start out your presentation. I did mine on. Not going to happen. Do not do it. So thank you, Mr. Hernandez. I see you've already went on there and put yours on there. Good deal. So make sure that you spend adequate time doing this, building this, and getting it done. So enough said about that.
Quick question. I came in late. Are we starting to present this coming Monday or what?
No. You're off from this class. You're off next Monday and Wednesday to complete it.
Oh, okay. So we can work on it all next week, and then the following Monday is when we start presenting.
That is correct. Yep. That is
Okay.
correct. So if you didn't see your name up here, you need to go on here and sign up. Absolutely. So something to be said, Mark, I sent you a text. I don't know if you got it or not. Last time, I guess when I took my phone and went through the house, I turned my volume down and Mark was asking me a question and I was leaving the Zoom on Monday and I didn't hear it. And I'm sorry. I seen you waving. I thought you were just waving goodbye. I did go back and look at the video to make sure that I know what I'm going to talk about today. Do you remember what your question was?
See, no, it might take me a while. I mean, if I went back and watched the tail end of the video, it might pop in. So,
Okay.
thanks.
Well, I know I ended with HRV and ERVs, talking about air exchanges and so forth like that.
That's it. Mark, you were asking what ERV stood for, which is Energy Recovery Ventilator.
Oh, that's right. I was asking what the acronym was for.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Yeah. ERV is energy recovery, and HRV is heat recovery. Pretty much the same thing. I'm not an HVAC person, so I couldn't really.
I've installed a lot of them.
Difference is.
I can tell you the difference. I've installed a lot of them.
Okay, go for it.
Ventilator only exchanges temperature. The energy recovery ventilator exchanges both temperature and moisture. So the energy recovery ventilator has a desiccant wheel that draws moisture out of the air and exchanges it with the passing intake or exhaust, depending on your season. Whereas the heat recovery ventilator only exchanges temperature, and whatever the moisture content is of the air coming in and out remains the same.
Good, good, very nice. Good to know. Did not know that. Like I say, I'm not an HVAC person, but thank you so much. I learned something today. Good deal.
Quick question. What's the minimum time on the presentation? 10 minutes or 15 minutes or?
That's a good question. Let me see if I've put that out there anywhere else.
I think it said a minimum of 25 slides.
Yeah, 25 slides, 30 pictures. Yeah, you don't need to, try to keep it to 15, 20 minutes, just not ramble on for an hour like I do. Sorry.
So will we just when we present, we'll actually just share a screen and do our thing? And
absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to make you co-host. Sure. Mm-hmm. But you need to submit. You need to make sure that all of your presentations are submitted here by Sunday, February 7th at 11.
Midnight? Okay.
Yep. Don't wait till Monday at 12. So actually, you know what? I'm just going to change that right quick. I don't want nobody coming out. Well, I thought we had until. Nope. Well, where is it?
Submission settings?
Nope. There it is. Availability. Due February 7th at 23:59. Cool beans. All right. Any other questions on the presentation? Try to be as thorough as you can without being redundant and lagging. Get all the good information that you can. Got a few people that still haven't turned in the interview with an elder. I got 19 participants. I got 4 submitted, and I got 1 that says here that needs grading. I started grading on those today. Get those done. So one thing to make a note on this word, sustainability or sustainable. These older folks, they don't know what the hell you're talking about when you pull out that word sustainable. Don't even throw that word out there to them. Almost all of them that I've seen, they don't remember being sustainable. That's because they didn't know what sustainable was. They were living. So you just don't even mention that word to them because it'll throw them for a loop. I've mentioned, I have a 94-year-old aunt that I just love to sit down and talk with her. And even today, you know, she'll say, she's starting to lose her memory a little bit. And she's like, now tell me again what you do for a living. And I tell her I teach construction sustainability. Well, what does sustainability mean? So, just don't even use that word. So she's a very sweet woman, and I love listening to her stories. Okay, so we were talking about air, and last time we've talked about insulation, we've talked about air barrier. What we didn't get to was how we test these air barriers. And so what I want to do today is go through with you guys on, I'm just going to do this and make it so much easier. I want to talk to you about blower door tests. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I just want you guys to understand the logistics behind it. But we go through in building science. This is a long, drawn out situation in which we talk about air, sealing, and so forth in the house. And so I'm going to just open up a couple of these things. Not that way, I'm not. And talk about blower doors. And we're going to talk about duct blasters. Should have had all this open. I apologize. Okay, so going back to the book, Builder's Guide in Energy Efficientness, go back down here to the air. So we do blower door tests. And so a blower door test is a way that we can standardize a house. So when I'm talking about standardizing a house, let's say that we have let's say that we've got a little house over here. It's about 900 square feet. And we have another house over here that is, several thousand, maybe 4,000 square feet. All right. How can we test this house the same? So you'll hear, I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. CFM50 and ACH50. And then you're going to hear me talk about can't reach 50. So a CFM50, CFM stands for cubic feet per minute. And that is a volume of air. So, we got a cube of air here, and this is 12 by 12 by 12 inches. All right, 1 cube of air. Somewhere around the size of a basketball. If you think about a sphere, but make it square, somewhere around the size of a basketball. So, and then the 50 comes in. So 50 is a pressure, and the 50 is pascals. So this is, we set this at 50, actually a negative 50, and we set this at a negative 50, and then we start measuring the CFM leaving the house at 50 pascals. 50 pascals is kind of equal at about 20 miles per hour if you're standing in the back of a pickup truck. That's about the effects of 20 miles an hour. Now, that's not saying that when you're standing in the house, your ear's going to pop, your eyeball's going to pop out, that kind of thing. If you're standing in front of that fan, you're going to feel about 20 mile per hour wind somewhere in that neighborhood. So that kind of gives you an understanding of what's going on here. And when I say a negative, that means that we've got this blower door, this fan turned on, and we're blowing out. And the reason that we blow out is because we want to find all these little spots where air's seeking to equalize itself. Remember that, you know, thermodynamics, everything in nature tries to equal. So if we're at 1 atmosphere here and we take this below 1 atmosphere, then, you know, the pressure on the outside of this house is going to try to find all the ways that it can get in. And then that way we can run through the house and kind of check where these leaks are. So when we're thinking about that, then we're, you know, we've got to look at where all of the, you know, if we got a house like that, man, there's going to be air coming in all over the place. And we're not going to be able to get to this 50. And that's where that can't reach 50 comes into play. Sometimes houses are so leaky that this is not going to work. You just can't do it. So again, we've got standardization going on to where we can get to that. So in the blower door, and this is a blower door, this is what it looks like. This is just one brand, the Energy Conservancy blower door. There's also Retrotech, which is a red and yellow one. That's the only two that I know of, or that's the only two, should I say, that I've worked with. I'm sure there's others in different countries and so forth. But in the United States, these are the two main companies. Is the Duct, this is the blower door. I mean, they call it Minneapolis blower door, and it's made by the Energy Conservancy. And then the Retrotech, what do they call theirs? Retrotech blower door manual.
Quick question.
Yep.
I'm assuming with all these tests that they have to be adjusted per so many feet of elevation.
No.
Pressures are different at, you know, higher elevations.
Yeah, but the 50 is standard. It don't matter if we're up on Everest or if we're down, you know, because we're trying to find leaks in the house. If we're up on Everest and we had this thing going, or let's say we're up on Everest, we're living in this house and there's no fan in there going. If the wind's not blowing, then there's not going to be much pressure. I don't know how to answer that, actually. Never thought about it before.
Air is thinner the higher you go, though, so it's going to flow differently.
But you're using the fan to achieve the same pressure no matter what your elevation is. So, you know, the mechanical use of the fan is what's creating the pressure. So even if there's a difference outside to outside, the fan itself is what's getting you to the same pressure no matter what your elevation is.
So it's about an equilibrium, irregardless of elevation.
It's like mass is equal even if gravity is different. The mass is the same no matter like what planet you're on or whatever, even if the gravity is different. So you may not weigh the same, but the mass is still the same.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
I always had a problem with mass. I don't know, maybe just because my mass is so much greater than everybody else's, you know. So when we're doing this blower door test, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get a baseline. We're going to take this fan unit here and we're going to test the inside and the outside air to find out what kind of, you know, natural differences that we have in this house. This house actually has a natural CFM. It has a just from the stacked effect and all of that kind of things. So, we can test the house. The only factor there is basically the number of people and the size of the house. So if, let's go right down here. So we can calculate these airflows by doing two things. We take the volume of the house, we multiply it by a known variable, and I don't know how they come up with this variable. Somebody smarter than me decided it was going to be 0.35 times the volume divided by 60. And that way we get what is called the building airflow as related to a building. Then we also take the number of people. So if we've got that little, if we got that little 900 square foot house here and we got 30 people living in it, I mean, it's going to change, right? So matter of fact, let's do that right quick. So we've got a house that's 900 square feet. Let's say that just for simplicity, we'll say that all the ceilings are 10 foot tall. All right. So that's 10 foot. So we got 9,000 cubic feet now. And then we had that 4,000 square foot house. And we're going to multiply it by a 10 foot ceiling. And we're going to have 40,000 cubic feet. Now we're going to take each one of these numbers and we're going to run it first by the building mechanism. So we're going to multiply that times 0.35, each one of them. And we're going to divide it by 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, so that comes out to 2.5 for the small one, for the small house.
What are the units?
Feet, cubic feet. And it's per minute. I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure that I did it correctly. Let's see, let me just clear it again. Sometimes I like to double check myself. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to divide by 60. Okay, that's why that number was wrong. Okay. Now we need to do the number of people. Let's say, let's cancel that number. Let's say that we have, matter of fact, we'll just keep it the same. We'll say that we have 4 people living in this house, and the bigger house down here that was 4,000 square feet, we've got also 4 people living in it. So, cool. Let's take the occupants and we multiply those times 15. So we're going to say 4 times 15. And since both of these are going to be the same, then there's not going to be any difference. And that's going to be 60. Both of them are going to be 60 cubic feet per minute. Now, what do we do with this? Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take the larger of the two number. So in this case, the larger of the two numbers is going to be the number of people that we have in there. Remember that we're trying to change out the air. We're trying to figure out how much air changes is taking place because, number one, the number of people that's in there because they're breathing hard, and then how much can the building sustain. So in the larger house, we ended up having, a larger number here, which was, and this is 233.33. All right, we take the larger of the two numbers and we're going to use a factor and this probably kind of goes back to what Mark was asking. So we need to figure out where in the world this thing is being built. So here is our zones. Things change due to where we're living. And so in this case, now this comes from BPI. BPI stands for Building Performance Institute. I used to be a certified building analyst, which means that I went around and tested blower doors, tested houses and so forth like that. Didn't do it commercially, just did it for teaching methods, and just never renewed my certification on that. That's the only thing. Nothing, you know, it's still the same science, not much has changed. So BPI is out of Albany, New York, and that's why you see them using New York's N factor. So the N factor is the natural airflow of the building, all right? The natural airflow of the building. And so not only do we have zones here, but that we use the N factors, but we also have stories. So let's go back to our house over here, and let's say that this let's just say both of them are 1.5 story, just to make it a little interesting. So where is it going to be built? All right, if it's built over here, it's going to be in the zone 1. If it's going to be built down here in Florida, no, I'm sorry, down right here in Georgia, South Georgia, and what is that? Alabama, North Florida, Southern California, and Southern Oregon, then they're going to be in zone 4. Now, again, I don't know who come up with this. Somebody smarter than me come up with this. I just use it to plug in the numbers. So in Western North Carolina, which is here, all right, you see that, well, we are in zone 3 for North Carolina. And so they give us a number of 20 to 23. Now, I can tell you that it's going to be 23 out here on the coast, and it's going to be 20 in Macon County, Ashe County, Watauga, you know, the mountain counties. It's going to be 20. So in Asheville, we're going to use 21. All right, we've got to make kind of an educated guess on which one we're going to use. The further north you get, obviously the N factors get smaller. The further south you get in some of these other crazy zones, then the numbers get larger. So, you know, there's not really a map out there that says, hey, you need to use this number in North Carolina. So they give you kind of a variance there. So use that. Now we started with 21, but then we have 1.5 stories on here. So we're going to have to multiply that by 0.81 to find out what our actual number that we're going to use here is. So 21 times 0.81 equals 17.01. So now we're going to plug this into our factors here. We're going to multiply that times 17.01, and we're going to multiply that number by 17.01, and this is going to establish our CFM, or usually actually our CFMN, which is the natural pascals that we use in that. This starts our target. So let's think of it that way, as a target. So, you know, we're trying to improve our house, but because, you know, somebody's house is in New York and somebody's house is in Florida, then it may be different on this target. So we need to find out if anybody's ever done any shooting. It's not necessarily so important to hit the target in the center as it is to make sure that if you shoot 100 shots, they all get patternized in there, so that you know, and once you know what your pattern is, then you can go. And that's what we're going for. We're trying to figure out what our pattern is here that we need to be into. So find my calculator again. So we have times 60. So this is going to be 1020.6. And generally, you don't have to get too terribly picky about it. And then 233.33 times 17.01. 0.01. And that gives us 3968.9. 3968.9. All right, now what do these numbers mean? This is, like I say, we're trying to figure out where on this target we want to be shooting, and this is it. All right, so in this smaller house, I'm trying to get a CFM50 somewhere in this neighborhood. And in this one, I'm trying to get a CFM50 somewhere in this neighborhood. Okay, so this determines the house and or the people. Okay, so in this case, we went with the people. In this case, we went with the house, the size of the house. And we have this that we can shoot for. Now, there's something else we've got to take into consideration here, and that's called 70%. At this point, if we tested the house is okay. We don't need to put in an ERV because it's a safe house. But now let's go to 70%. Let's say we need to figure out what 70% of the 1020 is. So we're going to multiply that by 0.7. And that gives us 714.4. The larger one is going to give us 2778. And this is the crucial line. So, if we're talking this is okay, this is not okay. This is the deadly line. So let's say that we bought this 900 square foot house here, and we go through and we caulk everything and we make sure that there's no holes in here. Maybe we took the siding off and we added some blue board around it, and taped all the seams and got up under it here, and we're just going to caulk every little leak. We're going to do a blower door test, and we're going to go through here with what they call a puffer, which is like a smoke puffer. It's a chemical puffer. You can do the same thing with an incense or cigarette, or a lot. Of course, some of you smoke, some of you don't smoke, and you don't kind of go through a house with a cigarette in your hand. But incense, generally everybody's okay with the incense. You just got to kind of be careful that it doesn't drop on the carpet or floors or anything like that. If you have access to a theatrical fogger, some of these little cheap foggers that you buy on Halloween, they can do the same thing, and you can find out where these leaks are. So we're gonna stop this house up, and we're not so much paying close attention to this. We're going crazy with the caulk gun and the mastic and everything, and I'll talk about what mastic is. And so, we got down here, man, we're trying to get this dead stop. All of a sudden, we're testing at 500 CFM50 here. All right. Well, we are well below this line here. Well, what does that mean? That means that people can suffocate in this house. They can get Legionnaire's disease in this house. Bad air. We're just, the air is not being churned up enough. We're not getting enough fresh air into the house, and people can die. Okay. So this is our cutoff right here. These are our cutoff numbers. That's 70%. So when we get to this point, the HRV or ERV is a must. And I cannot put enough explanation points on that. All right. It is a have to. There's no way to it. It's not cool. It's dangerous for you. All right. Remember, in this house, this was just 4 people. If these 4 people, like my house, for instance, let's say I've got 7 people living in the house. The house, when me and my parents were living, the house had 3. Now we've increased the size on it, and I've done all the proper testing and so forth. We don't have an ERV or an HRV in this house because I'm still I'm still leaky. But you know, I took a 1966 house and renovated it to today, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time air sealing what was already there, mainly because it had a brick veneer on it, and it's, you know, it's kind of hard to take all that brick off, put a bunch of blue board on it. I did seal the baseboards to the gyp board and so forth like that, but I'm still okay. I am well above this as far as leakiness is concerned. Now, when we're talking about new houses today, you know, these people are trying to go for an Energy Star rating, and I'll, matter of fact, I'm gonna put that down on my little list here to talk about that, because I want to just, some of these houses are just unbelievable. Energy Star.
Eric, I wanted to mention something that helped me out when thinking about all these numbers when I was doing a lot of blower door tests. The ideal that we're looking for is for the entire volume of air inside the house to exchange with the outside every 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that 0.35 is. And that,
Okay.
and that's, so, you know, in a third of an hour, you know, or a third of the air in the house exchanges every hour is what you're looking for. And
Okay.
if you get down to so tight that only a quarter of the air exchanges with the outdoors every hour, which would mean that the full volume of air in the house exchanges after 4 hours, that's when code is going to require mechanical ventilation added, like that HRV, or some cases they'll let you get away with just putting a fresh air introduction into your return, just to
Right.
create that to get you up to that ventilation. So that's, to me, that's the 3 hour and the 4 hour mark. You're okay at 3 hours, and if it's 4 hours or more, you're causing issues and have to address that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. So 3, you remember, what was it? Schoolhouse Rock. 3 is a magic number. 3 is a magic number. Yes, it is. All right. So it is the magic number. And what he's talking about is ACH50. All right. So let's talk about ACH50. This is that standard in a house that we utilize, that, you know, it don't matter how big it is, don't how small it is. We're looking for an ACH50 of about 3. All right. So an ACH50 is equal to a CFM50 times 60 divided by the volume of the house. So here is where all of this standardization gets thrown into play, is by that volume there, the volume of the house. Now we're going from minutes to hours, so we're going to multiply that times 60. So let's go back over here to this number here, and we're going to take the 1020.6. So 1020.6 times 60 divided by the volume, which was 9,000. And we're going to end up with what our ACH is. So let me pull up my calc.
ACH stands for what?
Air changes per hour. Thank you for saying that. Air changes per hour. All right, so that's what Danny was talking about. All the air in the house, not just a cubic foot, all the air, 100% of the air in the house being exchanged 3 times within an hour. Okay, so let's see what we get here. 10, not 10, 12, 1020.6 times 60 equals divided by 9,000 equals 6.8. 6.8. Now that's air changes at 50 pascals. All right. Air changes per hour at 50 pascals. So let's go to the bigger house. The big house was 3969.9. And we had 40,000 square feet or 40,000 cubic feet. So let's see what those numbers pull up. 3969.9 times 60 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4. 5.94. Okay, you see how these numbers here are fairly close. ACH50. All right, these numbers are hugely close to each other. So we're going to change the air out 6 times in the smaller house at 9,000 cubic feet, and the 40,000 is going to be changed out 5.94 times. Now, let me ask you, which house, and Danny, don't answer this, which house is more leaky?
The small one.
Smaller.
Smaller.
Danny, what do you say?
The big one is the leakier house.
There you go. All right, now why is that so? Look at the amount of air here. We changed 40,000 cubic feet of air almost 6 times in an hour. Up here, we only changed out 9,000 cubic feet almost 7 times in an hour. This thing here, some of these cracks, they're not cracks, they're holes. Somebody left a window open or something. I mean, this is a lot of cubic feet there, right? Huge amount of air. I mean, we're talking about.
Cents too.
Say that again.
And that translates directly to money too. You
Oh
paid
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
a lot of
That's
money
right.
to keep that air hot, and then you just send it right out the door. And it cost a lot less to heat up 9,000 cubic feet than it did to heat up 40,000 cubic feet.
That's correct.
You lost that 40,000 cubic feet that you just paid to heat in 3 hours, then that money is right out the window.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's important, I think, also to mention that this ACH50 is a mechanically created temperature or pressure imbalance, right? We're creating that imbalance with the fan, but it's meant to, like you said, be indicative of like a 20 mile per hour sustained wind on the house at all times, which we don't always get, but some days we do. If you've got 6 air changes an hour happening because it's windy outside, that's a lot of money going out the window all the time.
Yep.
You can change this ACH50 down to an ACH natural with your formula and figure out how much air is going to move through the house just regularly.
That's this here.
But typically you'll never, we won't get 3 air changes per hour usually unless there is that sustained wind. And in natural conditions, what you're looking for is 1 air change every 3 hours.
Actually, this is mechanical. Sorry.
So ideally, the full volume of the house would exchange with the outside only once every 3 hours. So if you just paid, say $10 to heat up that 9,000 cubic feet and it goes out in 3 hours, okay, you just spent $3 an hour to keep your house warm. If you spent a lot more to heat up 40,000 and it left every hour, then you're really causing a lot of issues, and you're spending a lot of money and wasting a lot of energy.
Absolutely. Yep. So here in Western North Carolina, we only have to kind of worry about stuff like this during when we have a cold front coming through. 20-mile-an-hour wind. Now, unless you're on top of the mountaintop, we don't generally get a whole lot of 20-mile-an-hour winds. Matter of fact, at my house, I can only think of one day that we got over 20 miles an hour, and that was when that hurricane came through. So very seldom does it ever get to 20 miles an hour. But now let's take that house out to Kansas or Oklahoma or some prairie that doesn't have a whole lot of that has no mountains and very few trees. So you're going to get more air flows there, and it's going to be harder to keep that same size house heated and cooled in a windy environment for sure. So it is super important to try to get, these numbers as low as you can. Now, the best I have ever seen that personally me doing a blower door test, the best that I've seen is about a 2.3. I had a student who now works for Red Tree Builders, and they were going for an Energy Star rated house, and an Energy Star rated house, it has to be way on down there. And she came back with a 0.17 ACH50. To me, that's insane. That was like a freaking refrigerator sealed shut with a strap around it. I just personally have never seen anything below a 2. All right. So 3 is that's the magic number we're going for. But a 0.17, geez, does that mean we got to put 2 of them HRVs in? This just blew my mind. I thought she was lying to me. I had to see the results myself. It was just crazy.
Eric, I had one builder glue on their sheathing. They used construction adhesive for every piece of exterior sheathing.
Oh my God.
Right? And they got down to a 0.16.
Yeah.
They'd caulked everything. And
so when you're doing those blower doors, generally we're talking about a big old fan here that's open. So we can put different rings on this fan depending on how tight this house is. And I think there's like 5 rings. And I mean, you get down there where you ain't got nothing you can stick a finger through. And that's how that's how you're testing this thing here. I mean, it's insane. We have a ring A and a B, and that's it at AB Tech. The Retro Tech has, it's made a little differently. Their ring has a bunch of different small holes that you can open up. And it works totally different. So you can, and one thing too, one thing to be said about the Energy Conservancy versus the Retro Tech, the Retro Tech, their computer will give you a reading in ACH50. You put in the volume, it will give that to you. The Energy Conservancy only gives it to you in CFM50, and you got to do the calculations yourself. So, I mean, both of these are very good. I think Retro Tech took off of the Energy Conservancy and kind of, improved some stuff there. But, all in all, both of them, and they need to be calibrated. This equipment here is not cheap at all. These run about $3,000 each. So they're highly, and you can't just, beat them up and take, send them here and there and let them out in the rain and put it in the back of a pickup truck and drive down a mountain road and slinging it from side to side. You got to take care of this equipment like it's gold, because it is. I mean, because when you're trying to make money on this, and what's the going rate for a blower door test now, or just a house audit? Do you have any idea, Danny?
Well, it's usually run as a loss leader. So, typically you try to stay around that $500 mark for an inspection and offer the client that $500 back if they choose to use your services.
Okay.
Something like that. But, a typical home inspection that includes a blower door is usually not going to be any less than $500.
Yeah, I was thinking that one of my students, he does it here in Morganton, and I think I heard him say he charges about $800 to do the full audit with the blower door and everything. But
that's a lot more close to what it costs. When I was doing it, I found I had to drop that price point to get people to sign up a little bit more, and then especially if you offer them the incentive of getting that back as a rebate if they choose to use your work, use your bid to do the energy efficiency upgrades.
Right. Yeah. So he didn't do that. He was 70-some years old. He was just a tester. That was, he didn't do any work. So yeah, I can see that. So what Danny's saying is, he would test the house, and if they would choose to, then they would hire Danny to do the construction improvements for the house, and he would give that incentive back to them for testing. So that kind of gives you an idea. Now, ACH50 is one way of coming up with a standard. Now, like I say, this is a standardization from a big house to a small house to a medium house, blah, 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 blah. It's just a standard away. You know, it's kind of like miles per hour. That's a standard that we use to determine the speed in a city, country, and interstate. So little trivia question. What is, if the speed is not posted in North Carolina, what is the speed limit? Does anybody know?
35, I think.
Say it again.
35, I think.
Nope.
Depends on where you're at. If you're out,
Nope. If it's not posted statewide, if it's not posted, what is the speed limit?
45.
45.
That is right. 45. Yep. Okay, so another way, you know, we've got 45 miles per hour. Well, another way that we can do this is we could do, kilometers per hour. All right, so we have another way that we can do a house as well, and it's called the CFM50 divided by the square foot. All right, so this is a little different way, but that 3 is still the number to go to, except it's 0.3. All right, when you're doing something like this, it's 0.3. So let's go back here. We had a CFM50 of 1020.6, and we're going to divide that by the square foot of the house, and this square foot was 900 square feet. So
That square footage of the building envelope should be the entire.
oh, that's right. You're right. Thank you, man. Getting ready to mess up. Let's go back to that. All right, so we had 900 square foot for the floor plan. I'm going to say that we have 900 square foot for, this is the floor, and this is the ceiling. All right, and we said that we had 10-foot high tall ceilings. So we've got 10-foot high ceilings, and so now I got to figure out what is 900, oops, clear, 900 cubed. I went the wrong way. 30. So 15. So 15 times 15 times 15 times 50, or not times, sorry, plus, is that right? Let's see if that's right. 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 is going to give me 60. 60 times 10, that's not right. That gives me 600. We said 9,006, we got 600, 900 square feet. Somebody help me out. My brain's going to mush here. I'm trying to figure out how long the walls are total. 900.
What are you trying to figure out again?
The wall, how long the walls are.
You
So
mean
you've got-
linear?
Yeah,
You mean
how long?
Each wall is 30. Each wall is going to be 30.
you mean the perimeter?
The perimeter, that's right.
Each wall is going to be 30. You're going to have a 120-foot long perimeter.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. 120 foot times 10 equals 1,200. That is the square footage of the walls. And then I'm going to add my 1,800 for my ceiling and floor. To end up with 1,920 cubic feet.
No, that should be 3,000. 1,800 plus 1,200.
1,800 plus, okay. Can't count today. You said what, 18,000?
1,800 plus 1,200 is 3,000. So you'll have
3,000
3,000 square foot for the building envelope.
Okay, thank you. 3,000 foot for the building envelope. And this is square footage. I'm starting to confuse myself here. So we're going to say, now I've done lost my track. We're going to say 1020.6 divided by 3,000.
So the 3,000 is the square foot of all 6 sides of the house?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. So yeah, So I'll put the roof on there and it confuses people. Think of this house as being a shoebox. All right. Basically what we've got is we've got a roof on there, but the ceiling is where we're talking about. The attic in this case is not conditioned air. It is only, what's within that shoebox. So you're right. We've got 6 sides. We got a floor, we got a ceiling, we got all the walls. And so now we're going to take the square footage of the building envelope and end up with 1020.6 divided by 3,000 equals 0.3402. Remember what I said? That was the magic number there. That's what we're looking for there. All right. It's just a different way, to get to South Carolina. We need to go through Spartanburg, or we can go through Rock Hill, that kind of thing. So this is also a standardization as well as the ACH50.
Well, the second method seems easier, but
It is. It's
It's
just
not as accurate.
It's going to take you a long time to do all your square footages of the building envelope when you got your cut up roof lines and your insulated roof lines and different basement connections. It's a little easier to get your volume calculation sometimes, but that's still, if you've got a lot of different volumes, you can spend a lot of time doing geometry to get your numbers right.
So this past fall, I invited my students of the building science class over to my house, and they had to determine what the volume of my house was to do this, the volume and the square footages, the building envelope square footage. So if we look at this house here, what is going to be, what am I trying to say? What is going to be conditioned space? So if I drew an imaginary line around through here, then this is my conditioned space through here. So this is a house that's been added on. I'm going to change the size of this just for a second.
what's behind the fireplace?
This is a dirt cellar. Okay, so all of this area right here is still not the same volume, meaning if we drew an imaginary line across through there, then this actually has, it's 7 feet to the bottom of the drywall, and then I have an 8-inch floor system there. So I've got 2x8s and a 3/4 inch subfloor in just this section. But in this section, I have an 8-foot clearance and an 8-inch floor system. All right. So between here and here, the volumes are going to be, the heights are not going to be the same. So you're going to have to calculate this difference. So let's go back. Let's go to the first floor. This even gets wilder. Also to mention, when you're doing a concrete, this is a concrete floor. All right. So when I'm doing a concrete floor, things are a little bit different. So if I have a house that has a crawl space, then I'm going to count the floor. I'm going to count the area of the floor. Okay. If I have a house that is slab on grade, I'm going to count the slab's face. In other words, I'm not going to count the floor. I'm not going to count the area of the floor like this. I'm going to have to find the area of the side of the slab. And that goes into that calculation. So,
Have another one at 12:30.
what's that?
You work tonight?
So, well, if I can get back over there.
You
There.
confused me. I'm confused.
Okay. We have a crawl space, or we have a basement. So this has insulation on it. This is, that's off the ground. All right. This is conditioned space. This is outside. Or unconditioned. If it's a basement, it could be unconditioned. If it's a crawl space with vents, it's outside. Okay, so air touches the bottom of this floor all over. You with me so far? This is a slab on grade, meaning that the bottom of this slab sits on the planet Earth. Air does not touch this. This ground stays a constant 50 plus or minus degrees, okay? But the edge of the slab could be or could not be, air is going to be touching the side of this, all right? So we count these differently depending on whether it's a crawl space basement or if it's a slab on grade. When we're figuring up the envelope square footage. Remember that the envelope square footage, again, is 6 sides. All right. If it has a basement or crawl space, we're going to count this floor as one of those 6 sides. But if it's a slab on grade and it's, not elevated, not anything but touching the earth, then it's that slab, the bottom of it is sealed off, and we only count this. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, but that face is buried. It's underneath the soil. You don't usually have an
Could be or
exposed
could
slab.
not be. We don't know that.
Well, typically it is.
We count it as if it's not. Okay, so here's Western North Carolina, and we want to do a slab on grade. So we can still do a slab on grade just like this. What happens is we put a footing down here, we pour a wall, and then we fill this up with gravel. Okay, this is above the grade. This might be buried, or it could not be buried. Most of the time they're not buried, believe it or not. You just pulled your siding down to, to some place there, and it looks like it is, but it's really not most of the time, unless it's something like this. It might be if it's handicapped, they might put a walkway or something up to there, and the rest of this is exposed, even though it's hidden by the siding on the house.
So you're adding depth of the slab to the height of the wall for your square footage calculations.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to do the perimeter. We'll say that the perimeter is 100 foot all the way around. And then we're going to multiply that times 4 inches to end up with and that's just for the floor. We go back to the walls and the ceiling and everything for the volume. I mean, for the envelope square footage, but just for the slab. All right. So in here, we're going to count the slab. Even though this is underground, this is underground. Actually, not even all of that is underground. From about here to really about here is underground. The rest of it is above ground or at grade level, above or at grade level. All right, so let's continue on because it gets hairier. Now, this master bedroom here is a slab, but it's not on grade. It is like I say, this, I told you over here, this is a dirt cellar. This slab is up off of the ground. It is poured on a steel deck, and we can't count this like we did here. We have to count it here because it's elevated and air hits the bottom of it. Here's my car extended warranty salesman trying to call me again. But there are some other things that's going to happen here. Notice this dotted line right here. I'm sorry, right here. This dotted line and that dotted line. Edge of kitchen above. So now we're up on the second floor where, you know, most of the time we're going to be counting the floor system. And what I mean by that, anytime that we have a house where the basement is also a controlled environment, we have to count the floor system. Because if this is 70 degrees and this is 70 degrees, guess what? This is going to be 70 degrees too. And we have to count this when we talk about this height here. All right. So we have, you know, we'll say we got 10 foot here, we got 10 foot here, and we've got 1 foot there. Keep it simple, stupid. So we've got a total of 21 feet times whatever our distance here is, so that we get all of this envelope in here. Now, remember I told you that kitchen was off the ground. So I've got a portion of that kitchen off the ground. Now, over here where it's over the basement, I count the floor system. But when I get to this point right here, this jumps up and I start counting it right there. I don't count the floor system because the floor system's outside. This temperature is 0 degrees and this one's 70 degrees. All right, so now let's look at some other things. There's other factors. Notice that this portion of the house is existing. All right, the shaded portions was built in 1960. And it has a 8 1.5 inch, actually an 8 0.5 height, wall height on it, because I'm taking off 1/2 inch for sheetrock. But over here, I also have the same stud. I use the same stud, except it goes up 8 inches. So basically what it is I had this floor, the floor was there, and instead of trying to match up this level perfectly, which is probably not going to happen because this has been around since 1966, this has been around since 2007, to get this perfect without any movement whatsoever is going to be damn near impossible. And I'm not going to worry about it. So I went ahead and upped this section, this whole section right here, up 8 inches and set it on top of it. So these floor joists actually sit on top of these floor joists. I know that your mind's probably melting by now. So when
Show me an end view.
Huh?
Show me an end view of what you just said. End view or side view.
Okay, so in this section right here, in this section right here, the floor level is, we'll say 0. But in the new section, The floor system is here at this level. So over on here, I've got to count the distance from the slab up to get to here. But then over here, I'm counting the floor system as well, but I got to add another 8 inches to it because it's 8 inches higher. Does that help?
Yeah, okay.
Just this, I'm sorry. Let me make this, let me do it a different way here. I didn't draw it straight. This area right here, I'm just going to add 8 inches more to it. This area, the volume is going to be different because there is a vaulted ceiling in here. This area is going to be different because it is over nothing. Okay, so there's 3 different areas that's already changed in volume. This is going to be the same. Nothing has changed through here. That is all the same. Except for this little area here. We have to count that little bit of area right there, because it's added on. It's a little different. This area here is over a dirt basement, but it also has a vaulted ceiling. So this ceiling right here, it actually does a couple of funky things here. So it comes out about 2 feet, and then it goes up equal to the roof to about right there, I think. And then it comes down like this, and then the rest of it is flat all the way across through there. Yeah. That just threw you for a loop, didn't it? So all of this has to be calculated. Now, it doesn't matter if you're calculating the footage, the area of the envelope or the volume. This house is a freaking nightmare to do. And now this is office. It used to be a closed-in, it used to be a screen porch. Now you got to count this too, because it's also conditioned and it's totally outside. So now I've got a shoebox added to a crumpled up shoebox. It's not as simple as you think. So when you're trying to do these calculations, does it have a vaulted ceiling? Because all of that has to be counted as volume. All of this area here has to be counted as envelope area. So this is going to be different from this. Mark, I tell you what, if you want to really have a math challenge, take my building science class. Anybody in here that's already had building science with me? Can't remember who all's in here. Okay, yeah, Mark, yeah. So that class is a bitch. I'm sorry. It is. You got to really think outside the box. It gets a little hairy in there. Okay, so what if like I say, what if you can't reach 50? What do you do then? I'm on the right one. Yeah. No, not on the right one. There, right. Nope, still not on the right one. Minneapolis blower door. What happened to the blower door? There. So there are formulas that you use that if you've got a super leaky house, there's those rings, by the way. There's just the A and B ring. All right, but there's a C, D, and E ring that you can get really super small on here. But you know, we've got that thing open, which means we have no rings on it. That fan is going 100,000 miles an hour. We're pulling tons of air out, and we still cannot get to 50 pascals. And this is what we have to do. If we can't reach it, then we take what we got and we have to run through this scenario here. So let's say that we had, we'll keep it simple. We got 2000 CFM43. All right. That means that instead of a CFM50, the best that we could do, the best that we could get that house down to was 43 pascals. And we ended up with 4,000 CFM, cubic feet per minute. So what we have to do is we use this little formula and we say 2,000 times 50 divided by 43 to the 0.65 power. Now that's a Lulu. Matter of fact, I can't even use my construction calculator because it doesn't allow for any of that mess. So I'm going to open up the other calculator. Standard calculator, and you need to have this setting right here. You got to have something like this, or it could, you know, it might look like this on it, you know, that button there. So we say 50 divided by 43 to start with. And that gives us this freaking long number. And then we're going to take it to the 0.65 power. So we're going to say XY 0.65. And that gives us an even smaller number. And we're going to take this number and we're going to multiply it by that number. To end up with this number. And now that is the CFM50. So we're manipulating it. We're saying we're going to cheat and make this house get to 50 pascals. And these are just the factors that you use to get to it. Just so you can run the tests.
Where did the 0.65 come from? If it's lengthy, forget it.
Some scientists come out through there and poop that thing out. Danny, you have any idea where it came from?
Where the 2000 CFM?
No, the 0.65 power.
That's the opposite of your 0.35 air changes per hour.
God, see, he's so smart. Let's see if he's right.
That makes sense.
1 divided by 0.65. Well, you got close. But that's a good answer. I don't know. I have no clue. Good question. Okay, so let me think about this for a minute. Have I spoke about everything? The duct blaster. Let's talk about that for a second. The duct blaster is very much like the blower door, except we're talking about the HVAC portion of your house. So let's say that we don't have a mini split. Does everybody know what a mini split is?
Yeah, I have one at my house.
Okay. Just in case anybody's too embarrassed to ask, a mini split is basically a singular unit. You have a blower that has all of the indoor furnace components that a regular whole house does, except the ductwork. All right, so in a regular system, in a centralized system, we got this enormous big thing on the outside. Generally, we've got a furnace on the inside, or a blower unit. I shouldn't call it a furnace. And then we've got all this duct work that goes all over the place throughout the house to transfer air and receive air. So let's see, I'm gonna put the return here. So we've got all of this going in here, and these little buggers here can leak like a sieve. All right. Well, in a mini split, you eliminate all of these ductwork, and this is the intake, this is the cooler, this is the heater, this is the fan, everything all rolled into one in a nice little package here that hangs on the wall. Generally, these come as a single head unit. This is a head. And I think you can get up to 3 heads. Most of the time it's just 1 or 2 heads, but I think you can get 3 heads. And this outside condensing unit is much smaller. It's like a third the size of this thing here. All right. So this is what's going on my bus, by the way.
Question. The 3 heads per outside unit is what you're saying?
Yeah. So let's say that you're going to put these in different rooms. Generally, this goes to 1 room. And so that you have Freon. It's not Freon. It's 138B or C. I don't remember what it is. It's a gas. Let's call it a gas. You got gas in here. And this gas goes over here, and it either is compressed or it's decompressed in here, depending on the season. And it either pulls air, it either pulls heat out of the air, and then the gas runs into these heads, and then the air passes over this exchanged heat and into the house. Or what happens is it goes into reverse in the summertime, and it pulls the heat out of the house and dumps it to the outside. All right. So anyway, in the mini split, all you've got is the gas line. And dear God, we hope that the gas line don't leak, because if the gas line leaks, it doesn't work. It just shuts down. If there's no gas in here, this unit here will stop. This will just keep going. It'll just, the fan will run. Sometimes they'll shut off too. Some of the really, really new high expensive ones will actually have an alarm on there to let you know that problem. And they even talk to your phone, by God, hey, you need to change your filter, or hey, your Freon's low. These, which is, this is the old version, and you have a bigger unit, and they run in a sear, and the size of the sear is based on not the size of your house. It is based on the size of your house plus your windows, plus your doors. How many windows do you have on the north side? How many windows do you have on the south side? What kind of insulation you got? What did your blower door end up? I mean, there's tons of things. It used to be you did tonnage in the old day, and you did 1 ton equaled 400 square feet. All right. This was the old way. Let me tell you, this is absolutely horrible. Do not do it this way. Have a professional come out, HVAC person, let them use the J manual or the N manual, I think it is, to determine what size air conditioner heating system that you need for your house. However, when these are put together, these leak. And so we do a test. We pressurize this to find out where our leaks are. And what we can do is we take this duct blaster, and one way, well, you can do a couple of ways. You can do a negative test, or you can do a positive test. You have to have special tools to go along with this. If you do a pressure, you have to have a pressure pan. Most time we just do a negative pressure on it, but if you want to test it, you basically just turn this little fan around and it'll blow in the opposite. I mean, it doesn't have a switch to blow it in the opposite direction like the blower door. The blower door has a switch. This one here, you just take it off and turn it around and let it blow into it. And when you're blowing into it, remember I was talking about that theatrical smoke? So you take that little theatrical smoke canister you got right there and turn it into it, and it'll suck that in. And then when you go out here, you got your tube out here, you got all of your duct work closed off. All right. So you've taken plastic or sticky plastic and you've put on here, no wind can escape this thing. And you start blowing this smoke through there and you can see where the leaks are. And then you go in there with mastic and clean it up. Now, what the hell is mastic? It's duct sealant. That's what it is. If you go to Lowe's and ask for mastic, you are going to be sold the wrong thing. So mastic comes in a bucket like this. It's nasty stuff. It's like spray foam. Oh my God. I spray foamed some of my bus last night and oversprayed, of course. It's coming out all over the place. If you guys are on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or anything, you can follow along. That's right. I don't remember if I shared the Google Photos with you or not. I will try to do that today. And you can see my progress on the bus. But anyway, so the standards on the bus, which means the ribs going around the bus, are hollow. And I filled those with spray foam last night. And I misjudged the amount that I was putting in and it went everywhere. So if you've ever messed with great stuff, it works exactly the same way as this stuff. Once it gets on you and dries, it's impossible to get off. You've ruined your clothes. As a matter of fact, you can see my hands. My hands are, permanently black and it's still got some of the adhesive stuff on it. And I've washed my hands like 4 or 5 times. Washed them with, matter of fact, I've washed them with MEK, washed them with acetone, washed them with, not Agent Orange, that orange shit that you clean your hands with, and took a shower. I mean, just nothing takes this stuff off. That polyurethane, it's like polyurethane glue, like Gorilla Glue or something. It just doesn't come off. And that's what this stuff. It has fibers in it to help it maintain its base. If you've got large holes, then you want to use some sort of fiberglass tape on it. So maybe I'm not saying it right. Yeah, fiberglass tape, which looks like this, if it'll come up. So it's that mesh tape, fiberglass cloth tape, and you put that in your bigger holes. You close up your bigger holes, and then you can, what it does is it supports the mastic, and then you just smear the mastic on there, and you don't paint it on. You can't take a paintbrush and paint this stuff on. It has to go on with like a putty knife or something. So that is sealing a duct. And then you're going to, you can test it. You can actually have this thing running while you're doing the mastic to it, because this you can't blow that stuff off unless you're, and this, and this is also a 25 pascals. You don't want to put 50 pascals on your ductwork. You're going to be blowing the ductwork all to hell. So, if you put 50 pascals on it, these things are going to fly off, and you don't want that to happen. Or, like I say, you've got those little sticky plastic things over the supplies. 50 pascals will blow those off. They just won't hold. So on a blower door, we do the 50 pascals. And on the duct tester or duct blaster, we do 25 pascals, half that. And we can use both of them at the same time. If let's say this duct work runs through the attic or through the crawl space, then we can do the duct and the blower door at the same time at 25 pascals, and we can eliminate the inside outside and we find out how much leakage is due to the ductwork versus how much leakage is just to the inside of the house, that kind of thing.
And then also how much duct leakage is leaking outside instead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, leakage to the outside. Yeah, not just in your house, leakage to the outside. Yeah, because
Which
you know,
then
we could
adds
have,
to the infiltration for the rest of the house.
right. So, you know, let's say that this is, you know, a air conditioned or a conditioned space underneath, and it's leaking into the, you know, the space here. It's not really a loss. We haven't lost anything, even though it may not be getting to this room up here. But now if it goes into the attic, you know, if we've got something going up here into the attic and it's leaking out, then basically you're heating and cooling the neighborhood. And that is, you know, that is lost money for sure. So that's why we want to determine that.
Yeah, some of the energy efficiency programs will still require a total leakage number that's
Yeah.
less than 25% of your total duct volume.
Is it the total? I thought it was like 4% of the floor plan or something. Something like
Yeah,
that.
a total leakage of less than 25%.
Yeah. I mean, you think about 25%, that's a lot. You know, that's a lot of money that you're blowing away there. Alex, I didn't hear you peep up when I asked if anybody already had the building science class. I'm looking over here and seeing the names now. So some of you guys have heard this all over again. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It's good to hear twice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you'll have to hear it 7 times before you remember it. I think that's what it's called. 7 times it'll stick in your mind. God almighty, I've dreamed about this shit. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. It's 11 o'clock. So we're gonna postpone the moisture barrier. So remember, next week, Tuesday and Monday and Wednesday, we will not have Zoom class. This will be your lab day to work on those presentations and have those number 1 good to go. I hope that you have sat down in front of a mirror, or your mother-in-law, your spouse, Chiro the cat, I don't care. Practice giving your presentation. I want this presentation to be super duper informative, truthful, fact finding, and professional. Make sure this is, I'm trying to, not just get you to do the research, but I want you to be able to give a professional report to a client. So I'm kind of conditioning you in more than one way here. Okay. Any questions at all?
When's the drawing of the hat or straws or whatever?
The next weekend. It'll happen Saturday or Sunday before that Monday, before the 8th. So what, 7? It'll happen either the 6th or the 7th.
Oh, so you're just gonna put the names in a hat and just pull them out one by one or something? Or-
Pretty much, yeah. Now, I know some of you, there's 1 or 2 people here that work, and if a specific time it works for you that is better, you need to let me know now. Because once I put the names in the hat and pull them out, then, I don't want to change it about. Fair is fair, but I understand some of you guys may be working now. And if you want to get on here early and get it over with, fine. If you want to wait until 11 o'clock and take your lunch hour to do it, fine. Let me know. Okay.
Wait, what's going on?
You're going to be giving presentations starting February 8th.
Yeah, I got that. I thought you were talking about something else.
No, I'm just saying, this is not all the students that's in this class. And so some people work, but they're going to have to, they got to take time to come on here and present their presentation. So, I don't want to kill their whole day. So I will work with them to try to get whichever day is, or whichever time is best for them.
Okay.
Have a great one, guys. Don't abuse next week now. And hey, always check with me. If you got any questions, hit me up. something about Moodle, email me. If there's something that I need to do, email me and then send me a text and say, hey, check your email. Sent this on you. Okay. Happy travels, guys. We'll see you.
Bye.